The immortal John Hancock here, and I'm once again joined by my good friend Steve, Mr. Right Way, and so glad to have you on today with this discussion that a lot of people are talking about, and that's
I know,
backwards
right?
compatibility. Does
Oh
it
man,
matter? So we'll go ahead and you can begin this conversation.
does it matter? No, it does not matter because I think it only matters to collectors. I think it's collectors. We are a very small niche and a niche bunch of people. We like our stuff. Like I was showing earlier, before I got on. This is my old PlayStation 3, the big one, 60 gig. It's compatible with PlayStation 1, 2, and 3.
Awesome.
This right here is a gem for collectors. Good. But
So you don't think it matters?
I don't think it matters really much. I think it only matters because uh, we don't have it. It only starts mattering to people when you take away stuff. Does it matter to me? No, I don't think it matters at all, man, because we have so many other ways to play different games. Just take the newer systems coming out, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
I
no,
can't even
it's a
get.
tough
It's
one.
so many names for the Xbox. It's
No.
frustrating. But look at the Xbox One X, right? Okay, I have a nice physical collection. I know you do too. I know a lot of people watching has a nice physical collection. You can play a lot of Xbox 360 games and a lot of Xbox games on your Xbox One or your Xbox One X. But do you really? How many times do you really want to play that? I forget that feature's even there. Because as a collector, I have all the systems already. Now, I'm not trying to look at this as a selfish point of view, like, oh, it's just not for me. But I talk to other collectors, and they like it really doesn't matter. It's a small minority people who are complaining, like on Twitter and Facebook, who really even haven't bought the system yet. They say, well, I'll wait till it come out 2 years later, and they still haven't bought an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. They're waiting to the place. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's
that
a selling point. I think that it's more of a selling point than anything. I lean towards it does matter, but I'm saying that with this in mind. I
yes.
think moving forward between the PS5,
Hmm.
the Xbox Series X, which is a terrible name, but
I know.
but I think that it's going to come down to as a selling point. Who can offer at least one previous generation of compatibility? So for me, one thing I get frustrated with is you buy a bunch of stuff on a marketplace or a store,
Okay.
and then you can't play those on the next generation console. And then sometimes you have to buy the same things over again if you want to play it on the new shiny object, new shiny system. So,
Okay.
like, good example, I know that Sony is working on the backwards compatibility of PlayStation 4 games on the PS5. They said they've said a couple different things. I know they're working on it. So I
Yeah, they're
know that
working.
they're at least eventually going to have a large portion of PS4 games compatible. I think that that's smart. Now, Microsoft is going the route of, well, they're supposedly going to have a lot more backwards compatibility, but there's not any fine details talked about yet. So, does that matter? I think it matters to collectors, but I agree with you that it's more of a selling point than actual practice.
Hmm.
But I think for collectors it'll matter more. Maybe even for YouTubers that want to capture footage, it's a nice way to have a console that doesn't isn't super loud,
Hmm.
that's easy to capture footage. But does the general public utilize the backwards compatibility? I think you bring up a good point. I
Yeah.
don't think it's used as much as it should be. But
Hmm.
I have to say, you showed your PlayStation 3
Hmm.
60 gig. I think it's a fantastic idea to have all three backwards compatible.
But with that though, the PlayStation 3, it was a really big headache because these things, it's the 60 gig, man. That's what I'm coming back. The more stuff you put in, the more stuff it can go wrong. I mean, just think of how many how many red ring Xbox 360s, and that didn't play a lot of Xbox games, did it?
No.
I mean, and people were fine. Look at the Wii U. and the Wii U. It can play every Wii game. Did a lot of people care about that? No, because everybody was done. Everybody had Wiis. To this day, people are still buying Wiis. Are people buying Wii U's? There is not. So I think it's a selective anger that some of the collector groups are getting mad about because they said that, well, I'm not going to buy it. Well, were you really going to buy it?
Yeah.
Or were you just complaining so you can be heard on social media?
I think you bring up a good point that there's so many people I talk to this day that do not know all PlayStation 3s can play PlayStation 1 games.
PlayStation 1 games, yes. And
people still don't know that.
People still don't know that. No.
Even Wii's can play all the GameCube games. And yet people don't even know that. And it's like most Wii's. I think there's a couple models that they took that compatibility out, but it's crazy that so many people don't know that some consoles can play older games, but they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know, and it's like they get mad because they hear a rumor. Now, now let me hear when I'm telling this to the audience. I am not disrespecting or saying that what you care about, it doesn't matter, because it does matter, because you're spending going to be over $500 for this new system. But really think about it. Did you make this big a fuss about the PlayStation 3? Because that was the #1 system for a while that played everything, and it was good, and they took everything away, and people were upset, but people got over it.
But I think you bring up a good point where, let's even look back at this previous generation, or this current generation, PlayStation 4. Yes. PlayStation 4 was not backwards compatible with PlayStation 3. Initially, people were frustrated, but it still sold ridiculously well. You don't have people complaining about it. Now, there was some re-release titles, and there was some cross-play, and there was some things in which you could play, some of their backwards catalog, but for the most part, it didn't play PlayStation 3 physical discs. No, and not a lot of people complain. And the Switch is another example.
Yes.
The Switch re-released everything on the Wii U, and most people didn't complain.
No, they didn't. And they bought it. They bought it. And I bought it. But you just gave me a really good thought, man, when you was talking about the previous generation and stuff, the PlayStation 4. Okay, look how good the PlayStation 4 sold, right? Look at the Xbox One X. Xbox One X. Look at those two platforms. Now, go look at their digital stores. You have a surprise. I've written Xbox off so many times this generation. I just recently got another Xbox One X. The only reason I got it because it's a Cyberpunk edition, and I love that. It's so beautiful, and I can't wait for Cyberpunk. I want to play Cyberpunk on there because I have the TV, I have the system, and also to me and my fiance, we really want to play that on Xbox because we know it's going to look great. But besides that, look at Xbox. The Game Pass. Yeah, look at Game Pass. Look at Sony's version of Game Pass. Look at all the digital games you can get. You can get a whole bunch of PlayStation 1, whole bunch of PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 game. Well, not many PlayStation 3 games, but PlayStation 1 and 2. Do a lot of people talk about those? No. So what I'm thinking it doesn't matter is, it doesn't matter, but it matters to collectors who collect physical. Because right now we're going into this shock of physical media dying, and it's our age group who really cares about the physical media right now. Like my nephews, they don't care about holding a bunch of cards. They have Nintendo Switch Lites, they have Switches, and they download stuff. Cards, they'll probably lose them and stuff like that. They're growing up in a generation where physical media is not that great, not crazy. I'm starting to convince myself, I'm kind of getting okay and not having a lot of physical media,
Yeah, I think we're in a transition time where people are happy with what they're currently playing, but if something doesn't play all their old games, I don't know if that really matters. I think even the Xbox One X, they took a handful of some really good Xbox games, made those backwards compatible. I think that's awesome, by the way. Yeah. And then even the Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Yes. That took care of all the Halo fans for the most part. It wasn't perfect, there was a lot of bugs, but over time they've made that better.
Yes.
And I think, and Sony's done the same thing. They've taken original games and done remasters of them and made them even better. Even with The Last of Us remastered, they've
Perfect.
done the God of War collection.
Uncharted.
They've done some other Shadow Colossus, as
Mm-hmm.
well as some other games. They've remastered those, and I think if a company just does enough of the big
Mm-hmm.
popular titles,
No.
moving forward, I think we're going to see a backwards compatible war between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I think the Xbox Series X is, I think, going to be more backwards compatible with things, but I don't know if it's going to help them with the console war, because Sony is just providing great franchises and great games all the time. And that's really why the PS4 has outsold everybody, because if you look at their hits that they have on their console, it dwarfs other consoles. I mean, they just hit after hit after hit have come out, and that's why it's selling better.
Can you right now name 5 Xbox One exclusives?
No.
He said no. But if you say PlayStation, you can name off just like that, right? You can say Spider-Man, God of War. You can keep going and going. It's just like my friend just texted me and asked me that like later on today. He's like, name some exclusives on Xbox that you was excited about. I like. And he said, don't. I was like, ooh. I mean, it's hard. It really is.
It is, and it's hard. And I think the challenges moving forward is that they are going to need more than backwards compatibility to sell the console.
They are.
So I think the bottom line is that we can both agree that it's more of a marketing strategy than usage. I think there's some people that really are into it. Like I grew up with backwards compatibility going back to the Atari 7800. Like that was a big deal to me that it played 2600 games when I first started retro collecting. But the consumer today, I don't think really cares. I think it's a nice idea, and it'll appeal to a small percentage of people. But at the end of the day, I do think one generation past, it matters the most.
Yes.
So my PS4 games better work on a PlayStation 5, or I'm going to wait on the PlayStation 5.
So are you going to go the digital route?
Well, no. I'll always opt to pay more for the optical drive. But the question is, how much more is that going to be? What's the price of the PS5? Both of them, I think there's going to be a big competition. I think initially the backwards compatibility war between both of them is going to help decide who initially at least buys it, not long-term standing sales. But that's it for me. And you know what I like about this conversation, Steve, is that we can have differing opinions, and we don't have to beat each other up or trash each other. We can respect one another and have just a nice conversation about it. Isn't that great?
That's right? Who would have thought that gamers can agree on TV?
Yeah.
You know what? Who I blame for this though? I blamed on smartphones. This is like it's like smartphones for gamers now. You know how like Apple and Samsung and stuff?
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh, do you want 64 gig? Do you want 128 gig? Do you want we're getting to that. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, they gave us 2 options for games,
Yeah.
Which is great. I think in the end, we're all going to win. Gamers are going to win.
Yeah, I think the competition is good. I do think that both companies are going to work hard and try very hard to win over not just their fan base, but maybe people that have bought another brand. And so I really appreciate having you on and having this conversation. It is important to people. And so I want to hear from you. What do you think? Does backwards compatibility matter to you, or do you think it's more of a marketing ploy? I would love to hear from you. Comment below what you think about backwards compatibility. And Steve, where can people find you on the internet?
Man, just click on this lovely face right here. You'll see down below. It's Mr. Right Way. Please, I love your support. Thank you guys for liking the videos and even disliking some of the videos. Also, if you want to see some of my work, go to rightwayphotography.com. You'll see some stuff. The website is almost done now. It's coming along. I'm very selective about that website. And then on Instagram too, you'll find me this Steve Wright Jr. Yeah, Steve Wright. Oh no, Miss Right Way Photo on Instagram. So
awesome.
You'll find me.
Thank you so much for being on. This is the Immortal John Hancock. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell for new upcoming videos. You take care.